Hello everyone and welcome to another Top 5 Records video. And today I'm going to be ranking all 15 studio albums by Pink Floyd. The last year I've been reviewing these albums separately, but right now I'm going to rank them from the bottom to the top. So without further ado, I'm going to start off. And the first album on this list, the number 15, is an album I'm not going to hold in my hands. Why? To do the review, I actually borrowed a copy of that album from a friend of mine. I thought, I might buy it if the album can convince me. But after giving it a thorough listen, I gave it back to the friend of mine and said him, never ever take that one with you again. On number 15, a momentary lapse of reason. I just find it a horrible, unconvincing stag of cliches. I love Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd is one of my favorite bands. I've been in a Pink Floyd tribute band, so I know these songs. I love them so much. I've seen Roger Waters live for about 6 times. I'm dying to go and see David Gilmour when his new album releases, and I hope he'll be touring again. But that album, A Momentary Lapse of Reason, Pink Floyd doesn't sound like Pink Floyd to me. They sound like a late 80s tribute band to the Dire Straits. And it's not good. On number 15, A Momentary Lapse of Reason. On number 14, their final album, The Endless River. Now, I don't dislike this album as much as I dislike A Momentary Lapse of Reason for a simple reason. That album is filled with an unconvincing David Gilmour, vocal-wise, lyric writing-wise, and on this one, he doesn't sing. Not that I don't like his vocals. I love the vocals by David Gilmour. I just don't like it when he's singing about nothing and trying to convince us that he's singing about something. There's only one song on here in which there is a main vocal. So that's better. The downside, it goes on and on and on and on and on. It's just and then it's just meditation music in Pink Floyd style. Not, it's unworthy of the name of Pink Floyd, really. On number 14, The Endless River. On number 13, The Division Bell. Now, this album actually has some songs that I do enjoy. But to be quite frank, I do have to get the record out to look for it. I like High Hopes. I think High Hopes is a good song. Going Back to Life is okay. That said, I don't think this album will get a 6 out of 10 for me. It's more a 5 out of 10. It has the same problem The Endless River and A Momentary Lapse of Reason have. It's not that I think that the band is worthless without Roger Waters, because they are still 3 brilliant musicians. But they balance each other out. They need each other to come to the true sound and true feeling of Pink Floyd. And Roger Waters is a brilliant lyricist. He adds essence, he adds words, and he adds meaning. And without that, it is searching for meaning. And Gilmour is not a philosopher. Waters is a philosopher. Waters is a philosopher that has currently gone woo. But I mean, he used to be a great thinker. And when you take that away from the band loses its meaning. You still have brilliant musicians, you still have beautiful guitar, you still have great vocals. But what is it actually saying? On number 13, The Division Bell. On number 12, What You Get When Roger Waters is Unbalanced. Pink Floyd's The Final Cut. Now, this is an album which I would give a 6 or a 7 out of 10. 6 out of 10 then. For the simple reason that some of these songs are pretty good, but this is, in a certain way, an amount of leftovers from The Wall. Roger Waters was, I can't say abusing, but using the band for a solo album of his. And I think Waters made some great solo albums. But this is not in the top three of that. This is not in the top three of that. Also, it's not a solo album because it's Pink Floyd. But again, you need the others to balance it out. There are some great songs. I like Southampton Duck. I like the Fletcher Memorial Home. Great songs. Great songs. But as a whole, it's too monotone. A little bit too much nagging. This is not Pink Floyd in its prime. And we will get to Pink Floyd in its prime. So on number 12, The Final Cut. On number 11. Now, I gotta introduce this because I'm ranking this as studio albums. I'm not getting live albums in here. And the next record is one part live album, one part studio album. And since I'm also gonna do a video on Pink Floyd live albums, I have to draw a line here. So about Umma, I'm going to be talking about the studio album. Yeah, I'll show you. It also the album itself makes a great distinction. Here you have the studio album, and here you have the live album. I love the live album, but focusing on the studio, this is the band members experimenting with different sounds, and it's not really working. No, there are some moments which are interesting. Grantchester Meadows, for example, but Richard Wright's Sisyphus. I mean, to be quite frank, I listened to the full album for the last time a year ago. I don't remember that much of the studio section. I do remember loving Astronomy Domine, Careful with That X Eugene, Set the Controls for the Heart of the Sun, and A Saucerful of Secrets. I love that. Studio section, I'm not likely to listen to again. Yet, after doing the other video, I did went out to purchase a first UK because I'm gonna give it another chance. It's not at the top of my mind. On 11, Umma. On number 10, yeah. How am I? Yeah. How am I gonna introduce this? Obscured by Clouds on number 10. This is one of the soundtrack albums Pink Floyd did for the film La Vallée, which is the French title, and in the UK it was released as Obscured by Clouds. This is good. Yet, it's a different kind of Pink Floyd. With Pink Floyd studio albums, you hear a band who is in complete and total control in the studio, doing challenging things, focusing on great songwriting, and this soundtrack is a bit of a hurried job. I believe they even just had 2 sessions in Paris, if I'm correct. 2 sessions, entire album. And Waters was not keeping the best of his writing and lyrics for this record. They did this during the recording of Dark Side of the Moon. And you can hear that most of their focus, their best songs, the most concentration went to that one. This is more of a Pink Floyd punk attitude, and it is very interesting. This record is worthwhile. It's a very nice contribution to the oeuvre or discography of Pink Floyd, and you can hear them when they have less time on hands, less money on hands, and they still are an amazing band. Yet, it's not brilliant, and Pink Floyd is more than half of the time brilliant. On number 10, Obscured by Clouds, and I'm gonna add on number 9 another soundtrack, More. I think this one is slightly better. It's for another Babette Schroeder film. I like this a little bit better than Obscured by Clouds because the songwriting is just a bit better, but it's in the same kind of idea of little studio time, not the most focus on the songwriting, but the songwriting is better. It has some very nice moments. The Nile song, Green is the Color, Cymbeline. This is a rough sounding Pink Floyd. Somewhat looking for their sound, but also just being there in the studio, having fun. On number 9, the soundtrack for More. On number 8, we're entering brilliant territory here. Brilliant, yeah, brilliant. Let's be frank, this is brilliant. A Saucer Full of Secrets. Now, this is. Sorry, my hair is. This is great stuff. This is Pink Floyd trying to find out who they are without Syd Barret. There is a Syd Barret song there, Jug Band Blues. I love Jug Band Blues. I really do love Jug Band Blues. But they are searching for their identity. And some artists can be interesting when they're searching for their identity. The first one that pops up is David Bowie, Station to Station. He had no idea where he was going, but it was interesting. Same thing for Pink Floyd. They were losing their main songwriter, their frontman, yet they were interesting enough to come up with awesome songs. Let There Be More Light. Set the controls for the heart of the sun. A Saucer Full of Secrets. Man, this is good stuff. On number 8, A Saucer Full of Secrets. On number 7, now I did a video, top 5 Pink Floyd albums. You can see it here. Or here. I'm not sure. At the top. So this list is going to be different because I did that list about 3 years ago. Now I've been listening to the full discography. I've been getting some new pressings, some first UKs, some other pressings, and listening to it in different pressings, especially in the world of Pink Floyd, because very often they are so incredibly good that when everything is at the top, the difference between these records gets more nuanced. So this ranking is going to be different than the top 5 video I did a couple of years ago. And this is the first moment to notice that, because I put this one in the top 5 video, but I have so many great albums again and again, or in new pressings, that this one is now on number 7. Atom Heart Mother. But for me, we're in 10 out of 10 regions here. Some people think this is a misstep. I do not understand that. This is a masterpiece of Pink Floyd. Starting off with the title track, Atom Heart Mother. I still remember the first time I heard it. It was during a music lesson in my I'm not sure how to say this in the English language, but I was 15 years old, and we had English languages at school. Now, our teacher thought I want to introduce him to Pink Floyd, and for all the artists she was letting us hear, she chose one song, but she thought, to get into Pink Floyd, I'm going to choose a big one. So she put on Atom Heart Mother. And there we were in the classroom, and some of the kids did not understand what was going on, and some were vibing until the roof. And when you have this choir, it is so intense, and it is just a rock, not opera, rock classical piece. It has so much weirdness, such intriguing melodies. It's, some people call it pretentious, but if any band was worthwhile the pretension, if anyone fulfilled their promises, it is Pink Floyd. This album has, even apart from that, so much more great songs. The song If is gorgeous. Fat Old Sun, when that fat old sun in the sky. I love the melody. It's such a beautiful. Gilmour is so fragile. Easily, it's brilliant writing. Morning Glory. If especially if I have a very nice how do I say experience with the song. If it was during the Us and Them tour by Roger Waters. I think it's nah, it's 6 7 years ago. I went to see him in the Ziggo Dome twice during that show. I'm also, if you see the concert film of the Us and Them tour, you could see me in the audience. I was losing my mind, um, and seeing that twice in 1 week was completely worthwhile. And after the last night, I walked home in Amsterdam, past the Amstel, and it was dark, and there were only two people in the park. And I thought, you know what, I'm not gonna walk past him. I'm not gonna walk midnight alone past in the water or next to the water, park near the water. I'm not gonna do it alone. And then I heard on their phone they were playing If, and it was so beautiful with the water, with the park, and with just having been and seeing the most spectacular show by Roger Waters. This album has it all. It's a masterpiece. On number 7, Atom Heart Mother. On number 6, some people will want this in the top 5. I wish I could put it in the top 5. It's great, but there are too many great Pink Floyd albums. The Piper at the Gates of Dawn. Now, this pressing, it's the first UK pressing, completely blew me away. This album is the only full and real Syd Barret album. It's a different kind of Pink Floyd, and it's smashing. It is so convincing. It's so weird and bizarre and out there, but it is of short, focused, melodic, brilliant songwriting. Syd Barret was one of the best songwriters. Listening to his voice is like listening to a living, well, now dead, but then living myth. There is mystery all around in his voice. And opening with Astronomy Domine, man, it's a knock in your face. It's a gorgeous masterpiece, completely unique, and a decade defining record, really. And that is just on number 6. So there's so much gorgeous more to come. At 6, The Piper at the Gates of Dawn. Now, at number 5. This is different from the top 5 I did. Meddle. Meddle, I completely reevaluated after buying this one. A near mint, I believe, second UK pressing. Now, why a second UK? Because of this, I'll show you. I hope you can. I hope you can see it. I caught it. I caught it. No scratches. The Dead Wax shows HTM, Harold T. Maas, and Harold T. Maas is a brilliant mastering engineer. This vinyl, still near mint, is just incredible. And it truly showed me what metal is all about. I mean, I love the song Echoes. Echoes is a masterpiece. Echoes is a complete one side filling rock masterpiece. Just beyond imagination. So good. Stanley Kubrick wanted to use it in 2001: A Space Odyssey, and I fully understand that. It would have been perfect. Yeah, 2001: A Space Odyssey is a perfect film. Could it have even been better? Might have been with Echoes there. That's my favorite film, by the way, 2001: Space Odyssey. And it's not just that. The other side, just as with Atom Heart Mother, it has One of These Days, which is gorgeous. Pillow of the Winds, Fearless, Saint Tropez, Seamus. masterpiece after masterpiece after masterpiece, and it's recorded so gorgeous. It is so brilliant. This, to me, was an unexpected strike of brilliance, and I have always enjoyed this album. Listening to it on the Harold T. Moss pressing near mint condition, I was just blown away, even more blown away than ever before. On number 5, Meddle. Number 4, this is gonna be the first moment that I'm gonna be insulting some people, and you might switch the top 4 around because these albums are beyond recognition so good. Superlatives. I'm using a lot of superlatives. I'm aware of that. On number 4, Wish You Were Here. Why is Wish You Were Here on number 4 and not on number 2 or number 1? Well, tough competition. This album is a masterpiece, as I've been saying so often. I love Shining You Crazy Diamonds. Just the way it sets the mood, the way it's starting to build a story. I find it very interesting that they went this, in a certain way, deep and ambiguous while they were experiencing some success, a very large amount of success, and a very large amount of recognition. Um, it might have been different with other bands. Which direction will you choose? And as a matter of fact, for this album, they had been searching and looking around and in doubt what to do. But they made an album about where they were going on one hand and the new world that they were experiencing. Most noticeable on Have a Cigar, which is basically a conversation with the boss of a record company who's uninterested in the band but knows that they can make money. So he's starting a conversation about them in the most dumb way. Gorgeous, gorgeous song. But the presence of what they're leaving behind is most notable. Shine On You Crazy Diamond is, of course, about Syd Barret, who also walked in during the recording in Abbey Road Studios while they were doing that. It's noticeable on the song Wish You Were Here. There is an element of loss there. While they were gaining popularity after Dark Side of the Moon, they were making notes or conscious or emotional about what they were losing. And that is personal, brilliant, and perhaps their most unpretentious moment. Now, this is a masterpiece. There's only one song which made me decide to put it on 4 and not on 2 or 3. It's Welcome to the Machine. I think that song is it's not a bad song. I don't find it as convincing as the rest of the album. So that's why Wish You Were Here is on number 4. Number 3, this one was a grower for me. Animals. Animals is from beginning to end. I'm not going to use the word masterpiece again. I'm not going to use the word brilliant again. So what am I going to say? Opening with Pigs on the Wings. Beautiful acoustic song. A fragile, may I say, Roger Waters. But then the story starts. Basically, this is a record inspired by George Orwell's Animal Farm. And it's a good concept. But it seems to be very personal. Waters is looking at the world and describing basically his fury and his anger. He is a young man who is not in love with what he sees. You can hear it on Dark Side of the Moon, but Dark Side of the Moon has is more dynamic in its emotions. This one is furious. Waters can be beautiful when he's furious. And as a matter of fact, Gilmour can also be gorgeous when he's furious. The solo on Dogs is just one of the most mesmerizing, brilliant solos in the history of recorded music. One of the best rock guitar solos ever. I might put that in my top 10 of best guitar solos. The melodies, where it's going. And then it's just side one I've been talking about. Side two picks the three different ones, which is I've seen him. I've seen Roger Waters perform picks during the S&M tour, and then he had images of Trump. And at that time, Trump was still president, and there was so much sincere fury and anger, and everything seemed to fit in that song. What George Orwell was writing, the way Waters made it into a song, and that moment in time with Donald Trump, it's very strange to be at a rock concert and to all feel infuriated. Now, Waters has more of those moments. I had it also during the Dark Side of the Moon tour. There was a song "Leaving Beirut," if I'm correct, and there's a lyric, "George, oh George, that Texas education must have fucked you up when you were very small." Um, and all of us, obviously a left-wing audience, felt the same thing. That fury was there then, and that fury is here now, or was there during the S&M tour. So for now, I can't see Pigs apart from that moment. Yet that moment was gorgeous. Sheep, also epic after epic after epic, and an ending off with small tiny pigs on the wings. I love this album. I love it. On number three. On number two, I put this one on number one in the top five. Because this used to be my all-time favorite album. And it has been my favorite all-time album for a long, long time. 10, 15 years. So I'm a bit hesitant to put it here. But I think I made the right choice. On number two, The Wall. The Wall is of. It's a story. It's so personal. It's two pieces of vinyl which could not be cut shorter for 1 second. Every second, every moment counts. It is a very intimate story. It's a story that, especially when I was younger, I could empathize with the emotions there. Not a literal story, of course, because I'm not a rock star who wanted to build a wall. As a matter of fact, this is the story of The Wall. During the Animals tour, Waters got more and more frustrated by the audience, basically, and he wanted to build a wall between himself and the audience. It's a story about someone going into isolation and actually breaking the isolation open again. And his way of telling it, the lyrics, the way it develops, the insight into the mind, to me, is one of the great poetic and literary works. And by coincidence, it's done on music. The Wall is a story. It sounds gorgeous. It's a lot more than just the words of Waters, but all of the sounds, all of the instruments, all of the melodies, they work towards telling that story. This is Waters being the Ferdy of his generation. On number one, obviously, Dark Side of the Moon. And why am I putting Dark Side of the Moon on number one right now? I've been listening to Dark Side of the Moon a lot last year because of the 50th anniversary releases, and because of the ranking of Dark Side of the Moon pressings. I did a video in which I ranked all the Dark Side of the Moon pressings that I have here, or that I have found and that I've been looking after. And listening to that album on 10, 11 different pressings, one after another, I noticed one thing. It never becomes boring. Being fully invested, constantly listening to it, it just never gets boring. And listening to a better and newer pressing, this is the second UK, it got me again to that moment, to the emotion that I was feeling when I listened to Dark Side of the Moon for the first time when I was 14 years old, running through a forest on a mountain on my, how do you say these, on my headphones, and that hauntingness, that quality, closing your eyes, and all the visions, all the fantasies that this album evokes. It's a mesmerizing masterpiece. Period. So, what do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Leave a comment below, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!